Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 281st ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing all right, Cameron. Doing great, actually.
Are you? Because I'm skeptical because we just finished watching Mizzou lose to Arkansas in basketball.
Yeah. It's been kind of a rough season. There's been like opportunity after opportunity where it's like, surely they'll get them this time. Surely they'll figure it out, and they've been letting us down quite a bit here recently.
Yeah, I think for like 2 months now, I've been saying, there's a good opportunity to split this week's games.
Yeah.
A spoiler alert, I'm going to say it again in like
You just keep doing
10 minutes.
Just keep doing your thing.
They're going to win a game one of these days. Yeah, this might not be a terribly long episode because that was that was as close to an embarrassment of a basketball game as we've seen in a while.
Yeah, it was a brutal watch.
Yeah,
it's just one of those games where it was over. Like, 5-10 minutes into the game, it was like this. Well, this is how this is gonna go. So
no matter how many times the announcer said, "Watch out, look out,"
he kept jinxing us every time he would say something like that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and look at the upcoming games. And of course, we're going to talk about the new defensive coordinator hire. And you may notice, if you're watching on YouTube, I've got the little recorder thing sitting on the desk here. No producer Cameron this week. He just couldn't bear to watch that basketball game.
He just knew that was coming.
He did. He said
he
no
made the
thanks.
right call.
So before we get into all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We surpassed 600 subscribers on YouTube a little while back. So shout out to all the new subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000. One of these days we'll get to 1,000. And that'd be really cool. Leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Saturday, Missouri lost to South Carolina, 72-64. They were without Anthony Robinson and Trent Pierce for that game. They didn't travel. Trent Pierce also did not play against Arkansas. The South Carolina game, another good game from Sean East, 21 points, 7 assists, only 1 turnover. Bates added 16. But the real story about that game is not really that game. It's South Carolina is legit. They are now 6-2 in conference play, including wins over Mississippi State, Kentucky, and at Tennessee.
Yeah. After they beat Mizzou, they went on the road to beat Tennessee, who was ranked number 5 in the country. So they are having themselves a surprisingly good season.
So while we were watching the Arkansas game, I don't know. We were trying to make heads or tails of this season, I guess. And it is true, right, that the SEC is really good this year.
Yeah,
is
100%.
Okay. Because
top to bottom, minus Vanderbilt, minus Mizzou.
Yeah.
The SEC is probably as good top to bottom as it's been maybe ever since Missouri joined. The entire time that Missouri's been in the SEC.
Top to almost bottom.
Yeah, top to almost bottom. I mean, there's been I don't even know why I want to go down this road, but there's been a lot of talk. Like, is this Cam Anderson level bad? And I think a lot of it has to do with like the environment that the SEC was at that time, and I really do think the SEC is much better now than it was at that time. Not saying that this season is any more fun than those, because it's not. It doesn't feel a lot different,
right?
On a week-to-week basis, just losing every time.
That's a good point. Let me see here. So Arkansas, we're just going to kind of mix these two reviews together. Weirdly, though, against South Carolina, Missouri only attempted 8 threes. So maybe that's, they're trying to scheme more shots at the basket, maybe more trips to the free throw line. They did go to the line more against Arkansas, but the Arkansas game, we just watched it. The entire second half was garbage time, basically.
Yeah.
Missouri scored 56 points in the second half.
They shot 50% from 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
went to the free throw line 22 times.
It took them a while to figure out the 3-point stuff, though. It felt like they were hell-bent on trying to get inside and, do dribble drives against Arkansas, who's not very good, but they are athletic and they're long and they make it difficult to score inside. So, it felt a little insane how much we were trying to do that early, and we were paying the price dearly. And they started shooting threes better later in the game, but it just didn't matter.
Tamar Bates went for 29 points, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. And something that we were talking about that the announcers in the Arkansas game actually picked up on was he's got this incredibly efficient 50-40-90 season that's playing out in front of us. We talked about that a little bit last week. But the pieces around him, and Sean East to a lesser extent, I mean, he's right there. Let's see. He's only missing the free throw aspect of it, I believe. Let me look at Sean East's numbers real quick. Sean East shooting 55% from 2, 46% from 3, 83% from the free throw line. And the 50 number, I should point out, is field goal percentage, not 2-point field goal percentage. So, but still, it's like both of these guys having incredibly efficient seasons at low volume. And then you look at the rest of the roster. Okay, well, where's the volume coming from? It's coming from it's just not there. Noah Carter has attempted 91 threes, shooting 27%. Nick Honor's in there with 111 three-point attempts, shooting 40%. But he's also shooting 33% from 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, whenever you hear some of those peripheral numbers about those really impressive statistical performances, and, like you said, Nick Honor shooting 50% from 3, like you say some of those things like, man, we must be pretty competitive. These are really good signs, really good indicators of good performances, but they're just getting manhandled on the boards. They're just, we've talked about the free throw discrepancy. They're playing some of the worst interior defense I've ever seen. Some of those things that you cannot overcome all of these things on a night-to-night basis, and they aren't.
And with Arkansas's length and athleticism, Missouri turned it over 18 times in this game.
It felt like so many transition buckets that Arkansas had.
Yeah, Arkansas was turning stuff into transition that didn't even feel like it should have been.
Yeah, which actually Missouri was doing last season really well.
Yeah.
Just get the ball and just take off with it.
Yeah.
Just create transition opportunities out of nothing.
Yeah. And another thing I brought up during the game was like, I think maybe this season feels weirder than it maybe should. The John Tonje thing is so odd. And I was saying, like, as a fan, it almost would feel better if he had not played at all. Like, if he was lost in the preseason to injury and we knew he was never going to show up, then we'd be like, at least I would be thinking more like, oh, well, you lost a starter in the preseason who was
just no way to plan for that
career scorer. So, that's one of the biggest factors here. And then we lost Caleb Grill a month into the season. But
easier to explain away.
Yeah. So it's like, lost season due to injury, whatever. What are you going to do? Still got these guys really playing well and trying hard. But we saw this team with we thought was a healthy John Tonje. We saw them with Caleb Grill. This team was never going to be very good this year. And just a complete black hole at the 5 spot, unfortunately. Oh, man. So let's see here.
Same old story here.
Now, speaking of same old story, Missouri's got an opportunity in front of them because Vanderbilt also does not have a conference win. And it's just like perfect. Like this entire season so far, we've been saying, well, we're playing a team that doesn't want to be in the bottom 4 of the conference. So is this an opportunity for Missouri to show like, oh, we're not at the very bottom. We can compete with some of these middling teams. Every time the answer's been no. Missouri belongs at the bottom of the conference. Well, it's just Missouri and Vanderbilt now down there by themselves. So
someone's got to win the game.
Yeah. It's at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is 5-14 on the season, 0-6 in conference play, 5th year under Jerry Stackhouse.
No Scottie Pippen Jr.
No. Leading scorer is Ezra Mannion and Tyron Lawrence. So I don't know. If Missouri loses to Vanderbilt,
What difference does it make?
I guess you're right. Honestly. Because, there's nothing to play for at this point except who might be on the roster next year. They're going to beat Vanderbilt, though. Vanderbilt may be the only team yet so far this season that it will look like maybe Missouri has a size advantage.
Yeah.
It'll at least be even.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Missouri is they're just outmatched size-wise every single SEC game. And I think they were able to get away with things a little bit more in the non-conference. They playing the lesser athletic teams, smaller teams. It was easier for them to hide some of these deficiencies. Mm-hmm. And there just have become absolutely glaring issues against more athletic and bigger teams. So I think you do have a good point that Vanderbilt kind of affords that opportunity that of some of the earlier teams they played this season, size-wise, they should be able to, hopefully rebounding won't be quite as an impossibility as it has been the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, their guards, 6', 6'2", their wings, 6'4", 6'6". Their post players, 6'8". So, feels like a much more even matchup size-wise than we're used to. And that's one of the things that I think is elevating the SEC as a whole this year is like there's so many skilled players that are like, pro basketball size and length.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas scored like 60-something points in the paint tonight.
Yeah, paint points, Arkansas outscored Missouri 56-30. So many dunks.
Yeah, just easy points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Vanderbilt scores 56 paint points.
No. We're going to get that win at Vanderbilt. Another thing about Vanderbilt is that gym, so weird. Like the camera angle makes all the players look short also. So it's going to look like a bunch of tiny basketball players running around out there because of the camera angle. After that, we're back home with a rematch against Texas A&M. Missouri lost by 6 to A&M on the road like a week ago. A&M is kind of a weird team. I don't really think they're that good. In the first matchup, A&M used a 23-2 first half run to kind of, just give themselves enough room to withstand Missouri's pretty decent second half. And A&M held on to the win in that one.
What was the free throw discrepancy? Like 37-10 or something?
Yeah.
Surely
they shot
that
37 free throws.
That can't happen again, right?
Well, we can at least game plan around it.
Yeah,
you would think the second time. A&M really weird though in conference play. Some weird stats here. In SEC play, I feel like we have enough data points at this point that we can recognize some of these trends. A&M is on offense. A&M is dead last in the SEC in 3-point field goal percentage, 2-point field goal percentage, and they are 13th in free throw percentage, 13th out of 14. But on offense, they are first in turnover percentage and first in offensive rebound percentage.
I knew that one was coming.
So they're just a weird team offensively. They just miss a ton of shots, but get multiple chances per possession, and they're not giving away possessions with turnovers. So weird team there. They're also second in free throw attempts per field goal made. So they're or per field goal attempted. So getting to the line a lot, not making very many of them. I don't know.
They like those ugly wins.
Yeah, of course. And so, I don't know. It feels like in a normal year, you could go 2-0 this week.
Yeah.
But that would be a bit greedy for me to ask for, I think. So I'm just going to predict the win on the road against Vanderbilt. Then we'll see what happens from there. What's the worst, is there any real ramifications to going winless in SEC play? Does that change? Is it any different to go winless versus only win 2 games or 1 game?
Probably not. No. But I'm afraid if we don't beat Vanderbilt, we're looking at realistically winning 0 SEC games, and oh man, like that's just not even a conversation that I was ever even remotely prepared for. But yeah, I mean, I could literally don't even know what to say about like what would happen if that happened.
I think we would all just have to agree to pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And just
it's so insanely weird that we're thinking about Dennis Gates and his job security.
Yeah.
Like half of a season after what he just did.
Yeah.
After he was literally God.
I'm still wearing the shirt.
You're still even wearing the shirt. And he looks really cool in that shirt.
Oh man. Yeah.
It's just, I feel like at this point we just have to try to live with what's happening, explain away some of these things that just didn't go as planned, and re-rack for next season.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get some players around Tamar Bates.
But we're certainly going to be going into next season with a little bit more of realistic expectations, a little bit more of a critical eye than we went into this season with. And I think that's why this season has been so painful. It's just like, whoa, where did this come from?
Right. Well, and I feel like the tendency is to be like, a bunch of new faces, we should be right around the middle of the conference, It's too you're coming off a tournament win. It's like, we can't drop down to the literal basement.
Yeah. Well, it starts making you look at last year differently, though. Yeah. And that's where you get a little dangerous. Like, start wondering if last year was a bit of a fluke.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately, we will not find out which one was a fluke for
a
while.
Exactly. We're going to need a third season to really know.
At least.
Yeah.
Because if like next year it's just like around like 500 bubble team,
then
it's like
all freshmen and stuff.
Yeah. It's all going to come down to, can we get a 3-point shooter in the portal? Can we get a big man in the portal? That's enough basketball, I say.
I agree.
Turning it over to football. If you missed it, the last 2 weeks we've done our season recap. We've got a little bit more of that next week, I think. But for now, we have some big news with the defensive coordinator hire. Before that, though, the Senior Bowl is coming up. And so we've been getting to see some practice tape and some clips of some reps from some former Mizzou players at the Senior Bowl practices. And it looks like so far it's been more good than bad as far as the reports coming out of the Senior Bowl practices.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that like after Mizzou had an elite season, that they have some elite players.
Yeah.
And some experienced players at that. But yeah, man, like Darius Robinson putting on a show. Chris Abrams-Drain has been playing well. Cody Schrader, Javon Foster. Yeah, all 4 of those guys are making a name for themselves and potentially making themselves a lot more money than expected. So, I mean, I'm hearing like it. I shouldn't doubt Darius Robinson after what he's accomplished. But man, I'm hearing like first round buzz for him, like the way he's performed at the Senior Bowl and just the competition that he's going up against, and he's just making it look easy. He's just a great kid, incredible attitude. Who wouldn't want him to be on your team?
Yeah. And speaking of doubting people, I mean, like, once again, Cody Schrader.
Welcome back.
Yeah, just like there's only a couple more like opportunities for this.
Yeah,
he's just gonna end up on an NFL roster.
Yep, that's all it takes.
Literally, he's the only one that would have ever told you that could happen. It's a wild journey.
Yeah,
and I feel like there's no amount of doubters that could possibly like disturb his mindset and his path right now.
Right. Yeah, but we're looking at Missouri realistically having 2 players, Darius Robinson and Ennis Rakestraw, actually, who's not even playing in the Senior Bowl because he's dealing with an injury still. but I think either one of those guys could be first-round pick. I think Javon Foster could, if he has, I don't know.
His combine, will he be able to go to the combine?
That's what I wonder. That's what I was about to say. Is like, I don't know if he's going to be at the combine. I don't know if any of these guys will be invited, and I don't know when those invites go out, but they probably should be invited based on how things have gone so far. So, if they keep showing well in some of those testing, and even if they don't go to the combine, they'll have like a pro day at Mizzou.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if the testing looks good, I mean, man, we could potentially have one or more first-round picks and maybe 3 or 4 guys that are picked in the first 3 rounds. And that just hasn't happened very much recently.
Yeah, I'm trying to find if any of those invites have gone out yet. I don't see anything for the NFL Combine just yet. But yeah, I mean,
I'd be surprised if a couple of those guys weren't at the Combine.
I feel like Darius Robinson is he'd put up some numbers.
Yeah.
In various drills and exercises.
He's kind of a freak.
Yeah. Yeah. So Senior Bowl going well. Yeah, it did, like you said at the beginning. It's like, well, surprisingly, a bunch of players on this team were really good, and everywhere they keep popping up is for good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on here, we have a defensive coordinator, ladies and gentlemen. We have a defensive coordinator, and that man is Corey Batoon. Former South Alabama defensive coordinator Corey Batoon. Run through his resume a little bit here. He spent 10 seasons as the defensive coordinator at Northern Arizona. Don't know much about them. 3 seasons as special teams coordinator and DBs coach at Arkansas State. Was head of recruiting for 3 years and then special teams coordinator and safeties coach at Ole Miss under Hugh Freeze. Spent 1 season under Lane Kiffin at FAU as co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach, 2 seasons as defensive coordinator and safeties coach at Hawaii, 1 season as safeties coach at Liberty, 3 seasons as defensive coordinator / safeties coach at South Alabama.
Yeah.
Started coaching before we were born, Kyle. Literally.
Yeah, he's got some experience for sure. And he had some really good defenses at South Alabama. They beat Oklahoma State soundly earlier this season, and they've got a really good running back who is probably going to play in the NFL. So they did some impressive stuff the last couple seasons at South Alabama. This is a big opportunity for him. He's been coaching for a long time. This is far and away the biggest opportunity in coaching he's probably had in his entire life. He's going to get a massive pay jump from like $200,000 a year to $1 million a year at Missouri. So
still quite a bit less than Missouri was going to be spending on Blake Baker.
Yeah, I think LSU paid Missouri over, I think it was like $1.2 million to take Baker and Kevin Peoples. So, but yeah, great for Batoon and his career and his family, and I think he's a really good coach. I think Missouri's going to run a lot of stuff that's similar to what Baker ran. I think they'll probably run a lot of nickel, some 4-2-5 stuff that Baker ran, which, Missouri's does not have a wealth of talent at linebacker right now. So I think they're going to have to run some of the hybrid stuff that they've been running with only 2 linebackers. He'll probably want to run some 3-3-5 stuff, but Missouri's kind of thin at linebacker. If they have any injuries or whatever happens, they might be running a lot of hybrid, a lot of secondary heavy stuff.
Yeah, well, it gives you the opportunity to get creative with things and mix and match a little bit and maybe play to your opponent's weaknesses somewhat.
Yeah, but I think it's encouraging that they're going to probably maintain a similar style. And, I think Baker liked to blitz a lot. I don't know if they'll blitz as much as they did, but I think like you said, it allows for creativity, allows for not tipping your hand on what you're going to do. They can run a lot of different stuff from those base packages.
Now, I was seeing some chatter about South Alabama. Well, the attitude I was seeing a little bit was he really responsible for their success very much? Their head coach just got hired to be the defensive coordinator at Alabama. I can't come up with his name.
Like Womack or
something? Yes. Weirdly enough, born in beautiful Springfield, Missouri.
No way.
Yes. Now he's defensive coordinator at Alabama.
Wow, look at that.
So some people were attributing the defense at South Alabama a little bit more to him. 2 years ago, they went 10-3 and had the 31st ranked defense in the country.
Yeah.
Pretty solid for South Alabama.
Yeah,
especially.
I mean, yeah, that's really impressive.
Another bit about his resume here that people have been pointing out is the 3 years. 3 years, yes, as head of recruiting at Ole Miss under Hugh Freeze, and that is somewhat significant because they got in a lot of trouble for like 1 million recruiting violations during that time. But if I could spin that a little bit,
Spin it.
that was before NIL, folks.
Yeah.
And we want a guy on staff who, gets deals done now that it's legal.
Always be closing.
Yes. So I don't know what kind of, recruiting situation he'll be in at Mizzou. He's not being hired to be the, assistant AD, director of recruiting like he was at Ole Miss.
But he knows the tricks of the trade.
Exactly
what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think, that's actually...
That's a good thing.
Yeah, where that might have been a red flag, it's actually a green flag.
It's legal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
A green flag.
Yes. Coach Drink said, I will make it legal. He went to the Capitol building
Yeah.
and made it legal.
Yeah, seriously. Only tangentially related, but I saw something recently that Missouri is like among the power players of NIL, which we knew they're doing really well NIL. But among the top 1% of NIL players in college football or
That's
college
the
sports.
rumor, yeah.
Do we have some kind of an anonymous NIL whale, crypto whale out there, or somebody that's funding this operation? It's interesting that
Somebody said Brad Pitt.
I'm not complaining, but I just wonder how this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take it. And also I saw that because another thing that's in the news recently about NIL is Tennessee is under investigation for maybe cheating with NIL, which I didn't even know you could still do that. But apparently Missouri fans don't need to worry about any of that because in our state NIL law, it's basically says the NCAA has no jurisdiction.
Yeah. You have no power here.
Yes, you can't look into any of this. It's all fine. Just don't even worry about it.
Yeah. NCAA is just they're trying to do this little power struggle. They're trying to get back in there and get back in the game.
Yeah. NCAA is okay, we've seen how NIL works, which I'm fascinated to see what the potential violations will be in the NIL era.
Well, yeah, and they're they're really trying to pay this quarterback significant money.
Apparently.
Way more than Heupel's making.
Yeah.
So, but I still don't know why that's a violation.
I don't know.
I think they're in the investigation stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe nothing will come of it.
Yeah.
But, don't even bother investigating Mizzou.
It's legal.
Yes. I guess they'll arrest the NCAA. Maybe that was the long game all along. Just to get rid of the NCAA by getting them to investigate Missouri.
Yeah.
And then you slap the cuffs on them.
Get government involved.
Yeah. Hey, we're using it to get these players some money.
Right.
So don't even worry.
And as soon as NIL came around, Missouri got good at football. So
True. Yeah. Just don't ask any questions, folks. And we've got the man who was, getting players paid before it was cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a lot of experience. Went on a little tangent there. A lot of experience for Corey Batoon. Welcome in. Let's run it back. It's not. Is there room for disappointment in this hire in your mind?
Yeah. Sure. And especially when we've moved the goalposts as far as we have, and looking at some of the talent that is not returning. It's not truly running it back whenever there's this much turnover, but you'd like to think that some of these guys will take a step forward and there'll be enough consistency and talent that's still in the room that they'll figure out a way to make it work.
The other big news of the week, Mizzou hired former Houston defensive line coach Brian Early to the same position at Mizzou. So we got our defensive line coach position filled after Kevin Peoples left. early, spent the last 5 seasons at Houston, and before that, he was the D-line coach at Arkansas State.
Arkansas State's just like a stepping stone. I feel like
Apparently.
everybody's coached there.
Yeah, everybody's had a year or two at Arkansas State.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he missed Coach Drink by like a year, I think, at Arkansas State. But yeah, so we've got our new defensive line coach.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah, seems like a stud, honestly. He's spent the last 5 seasons at Houston. They've been really, really solid. He's coached some really good defensive linemen in his time, including Ed Oliver, who played at Houston, and he plays for Buffalo Bills now. I think he was like a top 10 pick a few years ago. So he has definitely coached some elite talent and knows what to do with it. And yeah, we're just poaching all the position coaches from Houston, so
Yeah,
it's working out just fine.
Yeah, and yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, going back to Batoon for just a moment. Blake Baker was safeties coach before being promoted to defensive coordinator in the first place, right?
At Miami, you mean?
Or at Mizzou.
Oh, at Mizzou.
I think when Steve Wilkes was let go. I'm pretty sure
You might be right.
Baker was safeties coach. Anyway, it's interesting that we're the new defensive coordinator.
Linebackers coach, maybe?
I can't remember. But
Maybe both.
obviously, Batoon was safeties coach at like almost every place that I mentioned. So that'll be more his focus. Do we know what's going on with DJ Smith?
Haven't heard anything.
It's interesting because Drink brought him from App State. So it feels like there wouldn't necessarily be a built-in assumption of, ascending to the next position, but I don't know. Maybe he sticks around because he's just attached to Coach Drink. I don't know.
Yeah, I know there was some connection with him potentially in LSU. I don't know. I don't think anything ever materialized there.
Well, it would be nice to not have any more staff turnover going forward, at least till the end of next season. So we hopefully we've got our defense figured out here, and maybe I'm trying to think. It feels like maybe a little bit underwhelming, just because it really felt like Missouri was in a position to make a little bit more of a splash hire, but that may have been the thinking before some of those more higher profile jobs opened up.
Yeah, that may have been what they went for, and it went on long enough to where they probably swung and missed on some guys, and they might have offered a lot of money, and it just didn't materialize. So this is where we ended up. I feel like this is a decent landing spot if you missed on some of your top candidates. So I think it's a hire that I can live with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't blow you away, but nothing to be too terribly upset about either. Okay, like I said, this is probably going to be a shorter episode. I think we accomplished that. Next week, we're going to jump back into a little bit of our season recap and slowly transition into off-season football. With the basketball team as bad as it is, it's like I want to hold on to this last football season as long as we can. There's a good reason to do so. Anything else before we say goodbye?
That's it.
All right. Producer Cameron will be back next week. And let's see if I can do this outro properly. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above. Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan Ben Smith, Parker Daddy J, Tim Keens, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Luis Hernandez, Joshua Jacobson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We love you. You can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
T-shirts and stickers. MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Online shop.
Yep, that's it.
Something like that.
Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week after a win. We're gonna beat Vanderbilt.